Yo, what is up everybody? Welcome to the Art of Human podcast, a podcast dedicated to discussing the essence of being a happy, healthy human being via perspective and knowledge from human beings of all walks of life. Damn, guys. Can you tell that I've been practicing my freestyling? No, but that was fun. But yeah, guys, today I want to talk about the subconscious mind. Let's just get straight to it. I'm going to talk about the subconscious mind and how it can bring happiness to your life and how it's brought happiness to my life. And not just happiness, but it's just made me into a more well-rounded human being that's just more adaptable, that's more basically I've gotten rid of a lot of the negative thoughts that was in the back of my mind. Like we've all experienced having those negative thoughts in the back of your mind, telling you that you can't do it, maybe making you think cynically of somebody else. It's just a lot of shit just in the background. And it just happens effortlessly. These voices in the back of your mind, they just happen like, and you're not even trying to think about them. Like it's not your conscious mind. So it's like, what is it? And it's like, it's your subconscious. And guys, just to roll into it, I kind of had some structure laid out for this podcast, but I'm not really vibing with it. So let's just free flow this thing. So the subconscious, like I just mentioned, you have these negative ideas in the back of your mind, these negative voices telling you that you can't, or maybe telling you that these people are not good, or, you see the negative in the world more than any type of positivity. A lot of times, these negative voices were instilled into us from external sources, via parents, via other family members, via friends, via teachers, via mentors. Anytime someone tells you that you can't, and you really resonate with that, and let's say you were a small child and you probably cried from that, from someone telling you that you can't, when you combine emotion with negative affirmation, that's the perfect ingredient to instill a belief into your subconscious, because your subconscious operates through emotion. It's the illogical part of the mind. And so it has tremendous power, but it's illogical and it's not smart like the conscious mind. The conscious mind operates on logic and things of that sort. So when you're a little kid and you don't have too much consciousness, you essentially don't have a filter to say, hey, you know what? That's not true about me. And so you can't kind of deny that negativity from being instilled into you. Especially, depending on the context of your situation, maybe you didn't have any positive support, or you didn't have that much love given to you, so you're really susceptible for all the negativity. But yeah, so that's a really fundamental point that I wanted to make during this podcast, is that these negative thoughts, these negative behaviors, they're not actually who you are. They are what's been put inside of you. Because I think all of us can be like, you know what? Like, I know what's wrong. I know what I should be doing. I know that I can do it. But these affirmations, these negative thoughts just overpower your consciousness. Because consciously, you know what you need to do. You've seen like, yeah, I can do it. But then those negative thoughts come back and it overpowers everything. Which is why one fundamental thing which I've learned, and a lot of the information that I'm talking about today about the subconscious comes from this book called The Genie Within by Harry W. Carpenter. I've mentioned this book plenty of times on the podcast, but one of the things that this book mentions is that, man, I'm drawing blank, but one of the things that this book does mention is that your subconscious, because it has an infinite capacity for memories, you could never actually erase the negative affirmations or negative ideas that's been instilled into you, but you can overpower that negativity with positivity. So for instance, all these negative affirmations that have been instilled inside of you from a young age, you can't just say, we don't have like a refresh button to just say, let me erase all that, right? But what we can do, using our conscious mind, understanding that these negative thoughts aren't ours, we can then go in and instill positive affirmation into our brain. And it's from my experience, because I've been practicing this for the last 4 or 5 months, sometimes you don't, because in order to instill something positive, it's positive affirmation. I am kind, I am compassionate, I am strong, I am healthy, I am happy. But sometimes saying these things, it may not feel right in that moment. If you're in a real negative place and you don't feel well, saying I am happy, although that is a positive affirmation, it may seem too unrealistic to where it would make you feel even worse, right? Because you're like, I'm not even happy, and I'm sitting here telling myself I'm happy because that's how sad I am, right? And you don't want to go through that. So you shouldn't necessarily start saying these positive affirmations until you feel a level of confidence within it and you feel a peace of mind with it. So from my experience, it's always good to just let things out. Whatever's on your mind, negative, positive, neutral, this and that. It doesn't matter what it is. Get used to just writing whatever is on your mind onto a piece of paper, creating poetry, creating music, even if it's through painting, through drawing. Let out those emotions that you have in here, even if they're negative. That's totally fine. You get out that negativity, and then once you get it out, you can kind of reflect on it. But just that alone, to just get out the negativity, it's a very therapeutic experience. You're getting out all this emotional tension, which has cultivated into physical tension via cortisol and literally your muscles just kind of tightening up and your chest getting super tight and having shortness of breath. By getting these things out, making them tangible instead of just thoughts, it really alleviates a lot of stress. And on the physical side, it really will help alleviate you physically. This is all based off of my life experience. And actually, I've observed it. Because as I've mentioned before in the podcast, I did used to work at an eating disorder clinic. So I observed a lot of this. A lot of these concepts that I'm talking about here, I saw them happen while I was working at the eating disorder clinic through the therapist and through all the exercises that the patients had to do in order to get better. And the reason I was saying earlier about instilling positive affirmation and saying I am blank, I am strong, I am healthy. Fun fact, the reason you say I am blank and you say it in the present moment is because the subconscious, like I've mentioned earlier, it's kind of illogical. It's not as intelligent as the conscious mind. So you need to communicate to your subconscious in a particular way, and that particular way happens to be in the present tense. I cannot tell my subconscious I will feel happy because your subconscious only operates in the present tense. To say I will be for the subconscious is basically saying never. I'm never going to be that, because the subconscious only knows the now. So if you tell your subconscious, I am strong, it perceives that, and your subconscious, this effortless supercomputer that's always calculating in the background, will do everything in its power to make you a stronger you. And you don't have to do anything about it. Once you say it, you keep repeating these positive affirmations, your subconscious, that supercomputer, your genie, will start to work on how can I make myself that particular thing. I am strong. All right. Well, if I am strong, then I'm going to start doing all the micro calculations possible to make myself strong. And from my experience, it's actually a very interesting process, because all of a sudden you'll notice yourself doing things that you didn't do before. And you feel really good about it. And it happens so natural that it just kind of blows your mind. Like, for instance, for myself, I've done it now sometimes where I say, like, I am kind, I am compassionate. And strangely enough, I start to be more of those things without me putting any conscious thought into it. It's a really interesting lifestyle, because a lot of times we've been taught to be pessimistic, to be cynical, to be negative, and to maybe want to hold on to things, especially if you've grown up in the United States. We live in a capitalistic country. A lot of people have the ideology of like wanting to grab onto things and being kind of stingy and being, very like tight about what you got. But I never found happiness in living that kind of lifestyle. And I knew that I wanted to be compassionate and kind and have more of a connection with my fellow humans. So one of the positive affirmations that I started to tell myself is that I am kind, I am compassionate, right? Because I know at the core I am. But I know that there's a lot of things I can do to work on it. And for whatever reason, I was instilled with this ideology of wanting to grab onto things for whatever reason. And so I wanted to change that, because I knew I wasn't happy and it wasn't really who I was. I knew inside that I was a compassionate person, and that I'm a person that likes to have love and all those things, but for whatever reason, through past experiences, and I was made into a more cynical person, into a person who was more stingy, more selfish, and but it's okay because that's not me per se. Like I was saying earlier, like these negative things that you do, these negative habits, it's not actually you, right? It's what's been instilled into your subconscious, this supercomputer, and then now you've always seen the world in this fashion. But it's wonderful because our brain is so malleable that you can change it. The same way that I might be 150 pounds today and not have too much muscle mass, if I go and hit the gym and I stay consistent, you look at me a year later, I might be 20 pounds heavier, and you'll be like, holy shit. You know, it's the same thing with your mental state. You can't physically see it the same way your physical. Your physical, I go to the gym for 6 months, you're going to see a big difference. I might look a bit bigger, I might look leaner. You can see a change in my body composition. With the mind, you may perceive it as being more abstract because you can't actually see, you can't physically see it, consciously see the differences, but definitely you can feel the difference. When you change, when your mentality changes and you go hang around with people, from my experience, you not only do you feel different, but people perceive you differently than the way you were before. So although physically you may not appear differently, which I think you might actually appear a bit differently, you might be smiling a little bit more, you might, I don't know, your skin might look a little healthier, because the mental and the physical are very connected. But it's a very incredible thing, and I wanted to bring awareness to this concept, because if you lack awareness with regard to this concept, and you're not aware that a lot of these habits and processes that happen in the background are not actually permanently you, and that they've been instilled into you from a person, a TV ad, through social media, this is all going into our brain. So when you recognize that it's not you, then you could start making the conscious effort, which is the master of the subconscious, the genie. You can now put the conscious effort to overpower that negativity that's been instilled inside of you. And everybody's at a different stage in their life. I feel like, some people may be in such a bad place where they really need to go to therapy, and they're going to, you're going to cry a lot, you're going to suffer, and it's not an easy process. But you have to go through those moments to let go of all the tension that you've put on your shoulders, to let go of all the ideology that's ever composed you. That's why I'm such a big fan of Bruce Lee. Be formless, be like water. You put water into a cup, it becomes a cup. Put water into a teacup, it becomes a teacup. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend. When you attain a certain level of peace of mind, then you become adaptable, and being adaptable like water makes you extremely resilient to the adversities of life. And I feel that when you extract that negativity, or not so much extract because you can't erase the negativity that's ever happened in your life, but when you instill positivity and layer positivity over all that negativity and add self-love and confidence and self-belief, then all that negativity, it starts to dissipate. It's still there, but that positivity will override that, so that you don't even necessarily, that negativity doesn't actually influence you. And if anything, you still know that negativity is there, so you can use that to empower yourself and other people. If you've gone through a tough life and you have a lot of negative experiences, you can then go back and reference to that and see the development and progression that you've had, and use those negative experiences and transform them into something positive. Because a lot of people are suffering. A lot of us suffer in very similar ways. We think, well, we all live life differently, but the same way that there's differences in the world, there's a lot of similarities. It's that yin and yang concept, the dark and light. There's a lot of relation between a lot of us. So whatever type of difficulty you had in your life, you can flip that and show people who also went through the same shit and say, hey, you know what? I did this and I was able to persevere past that. Like, I have faith in you. Like, you can do it too. Like, I am not anything more than you. You have the capacity to do it, and I believe in you, and I support you, and here's everything that I did, and this is how I felt, and this is what I did to persevere through that stage of my life. And you express it through emotion, and in a way that's kind of what I'm doing, right? I'm talking about how I use these concepts to help myself be happier, because I used to have a lot of cynical thoughts. And so hopefully by me sharing my life experience and talking about it can be motivation for people who listen to this, and show you like it's possible. It's possible. It's totally possible. So that's really like the primary juice of what I want to talk about. And I'm really happy I kind of didn't go the structured way I had planned, because I kind of feel like it wasn't going to be as candid, it wasn't going to be as authentic. And let's see, I feel like there's definitely still some more stuff I can talk about. Oh, okay, this is probably one of the last things I'll talk about. Just, I don't want to overwhelm you guys, but hopefully the content that I've been talking about right now, or the ideas have been good. But one thing with regard to, because I know I've mentioned already that you can overlay that negativity, those negative affirmations, with positivity, which one way is actually writing down, I am strong, I am healthy, writing down all these things, saying them, visualizing what it would be for you. Like if I say I am strong, I could close my eyes and visualize myself strong. Like visualize a moment in your life when you felt strong, or visualize something that looks to what you feel is strong, whether that means just like stability, a smile, like a superhero, like whatever it is that you feel is strong, you visualize that and you say, I am strong, and you visualize that. The more visuals, the more information that you can instill with that affirmation, the better. I am healthy. I can visualize whatever it is that I feel is healthy, whether it's Superman, whether it's just me being in a peaceful state of mind and just being very relaxed, or maybe someone like, I like Bruce Lee, so I can visualize some things about Bruce Lee, and I could say I am healthy. I don't know, when I think I am healthy, I can envision myself in a meditative pose and just very calm and chill. That's what I see as I am healthy, a peace of mind. So I visualize myself meditating with a clear peace of mind and looking very calm. So that's one extra thing with regard to that. When you do these positive affirmations, add as much emotion and visuals as you can. Whether it's sound, if it's a picture, whatever you want to visualize. And when you say it, the more emotion you can have, positive emotion with it, then it helps to instill it more. And then you also have to be consistent with it. But then the other thing, like I mentioned, some people may not feel comfortable just going straight into saying or writing positive affirmation. Maybe you just want to be journaling and just expressing everything on your mind, because you have so much condensed pressure and so much tension. You just need to get it out. You don't need to add things to your palate. You just need to excrete. You need to get rid of what's inside of you. The other thing is being conscious of this, that the positive and negative things around you actually influence this subconscious. Then you want to be wary of what you spend your time doing. If you notice that you spend a lot of time with certain people and all you do is just kind of talk smack, and you're just kind of negative and pessimistic, and your negativity you just keep throwing negativity back and forth, and then that's how you find that's what connects you. You become conscious of that, and you say, this is not the life I want to live anymore. So I need to gravitate away from that negativity, from having these toxic discussions and talking smack about people and talking about these things. Instead, you start to gravitate away from that and start to talk to people who are more optimistic, and start to listen to more optimistic people. For instance, I like to listen to Gary Vee. Gary Vee, in my opinion, is one of the most optimistic, confident human beings. So I like to listen to him as a source of positivity. And for me, he gives a lot of insightful content, perspective, but it's just positive. even though I've never met the guy, like through his videos and through everything he does, you feel the energy and it goes inside of you, and the things he said it just instills self-belief. So you have to start gravitating away from the negativity and going towards more of the positivity, whether that's actually from, getting away from people who are negative, maybe just stop listening to so much negative things and just start instilling more positivity. And this is actually a concept by Gary Vee. He says, these negative people, these negative things, it might be your family, it might be a lifelong friend, it might be etc., etc. It doesn't mean that you have to say peace out, I'm never going to talk to you or see you again. It could simply mean that I'm going to spend less time. If I used to go and visit my dad or my mom every 3 days or something like that, maybe I'm going to go every week or every 2 weeks. Or maybe I used to talk to my mom every single day, every single night, and it was just never a good positive experience. I'm going to talk to her once a week now. So it's just minimizing, of course. It's never, I don't think life is good to go in absolute, especially to make a huge switch. It's always gradual change. Yeah, guys, so that's kind of a lot of it. I don't want to overload the plate, but that's kind of a lot of the things that immediately came to mind regarding this subject. I guess the last thing I want to talk about, because you might be wondering, like, or maybe you're not, you might not be wondering, but something that I wanted to tell you guys is that when you communicate with your subconscious, what helps too is to be in a peaceful state of mind. It would be very hard for me to say I am strong while, it'd be very difficult to add these positive affirmations if I'm like driving and like I'm not focused and I'm like, oh shit, like, you know what I'm saying? Like you gotta be in a zen state. It really helps. It really helps when it comes to saying these positive affirmations and to strengthening your subconscious. It really helps to be in a zen state, especially when you get to the stage of saying positive affirmation. So one key thing to know is the different wavelengths in which your brain operates, and the book talks about this if you ever get the book. So there's 4 different brain wavelengths which are important, and they're talked about in this book. You have the beta state. The beta state is alert and awake. It's when you're driving, it's when you're at school, it's when you're at work. Like you're the beta state, alert and awake, so like you're ready to do multiple things at a time. You're ready to do this, you're ready to do that. You hear the kids scream in the back, you gotta go see that. You're alert and awake. The complete opposite end of the spectrum would be the delta. The delta is when you're asleep. You're basically unconscious. So you're not alert and awake. You're in a very meditative space. This is usually when you're having dreams. And this is basically when your subconscious is operating at a very high level, because your conscious mind is not even operating. So that kind of shows you the reference between the most alert and awake, the most conscious, and then the least conscious, which would be when you're asleep, the delta. So then there's 4 different brain wavelengths. So that was the beta, alert and awake. The next one going down would be the alpha state. The alpha state, we've all been in it. We all go through every one of these different states of mind, because we all go to sleep and we all wake up. When you wake up, when you go to sleep, you have to go through every cycle, because in order to fall asleep, you go into the delta. Your brain wave frequency had to have gone lower, so it went through the alpha, it goes through the theta, it goes to the delta. When you wake up, the same thing, you go from delta to theta to alpha back to beta. So we all go through it, which is beautiful. It's not like some big thing that you need to train for years to conquer. We all go through the different states of mind. And so the alpha state is when you're kind of, if you've ever been like doing something, like you might be like in a line, like let's say you're in the lunch line and you're just by yourself, and then you might just like zone out, like your eyes are looking in a particular direction, but you're not actually looking at the thing that you're looking at, like you're actually just zoned out. So that is you going into the alpha state. Also, this is my own personal philosophy from my own experience, but that's like the alpha state, but you're zoned out. But then you could have the same similar thing where you're super, but you're in the flow. You're zoned in. I consider that to be zoned out. But you could also do the opposite of being zoned out and be zoned in. So for instance, you can juggle a soccer ball, and if you really get immersed into that activity of juggling the soccer ball, and the only thing you're focused on is just juggling the ball, and between each juggle your mind doesn't scatter, you're really immersed